Hey everybody, it's Leanne with Paper Heart Scissors, and I am back and I have missed you guys. I have been absent for really a month and a half. I just was crazy busy, but I got the June Simon Says Stamp card kit and it is so cute. And I loved the whole idea of these blooms and the wedding cards you might be able to make. And you know I love watercolor. So I wanted to take the stamp and literally make, I think I made 7 cards, but start with one stamp design and combine it with pattern paper and some different embossing powders and some vellum and make 7 different cards, but based on a lot of the same elements. So I started out by taking the black, the pink, and the white cardstock and cutting it into top folding A2 size cards. And I also picked out some fog because that Simon Says Stamp fog cardstock really matched some of the barely beige tones that were in the paper. And then I had seen recently a really neat Gina K stamp where they had put a bouquet kind of on either side, and it reminded me of some of the honeybee ones. So we're going to use the Misty and stamp that pattern. And literally it is, if you're using on black, make sure you prepare your cardstock with some anti-static powder. And then I'm using some Wow embossing powder, and you can see that I did white on black, which you know is always dangerous, so I'm cleaning it a little bit. But now you can see the beautiful image that you get on either side. And then I'm doing it also with VersaFine and going to clear emboss that on the white watercolor paper so that the black embossing will actually hold some of the watercolor. And what I'm showing you here is that this design really works well on all the different colors. You could fill the interior with paper, with just a sentiment, and I'll show you some ideas. So I don't think they have a die for this, so I literally just fussy cut this. It's really simple. And you can cut directly right up to the embossing powder, or you can start in a little ways and actually cut around and leave about 1/8 of an inch out around the leaves. But it's a pretty simple thing to do. There's tight to the leaves, and there's actually leaving about 1/4 of an inch around. And then I took the Worn Lipstick Distress Ink. I liked the pink. I felt like the pink of the Worn Lipstick matched better to the papers than the Daniel Smith watercolor. But I'm really doing this really rough. So I put a little bit of water into the areas that I want the different shade, and so it's wet on wet technique. And then I'm just kind of dropping in some of the color in some of the main areas, and I am not being fussy about this at all. I really wanted there to be white, black and white space left, like it was partially watercolored. I didn't want it to be overdone. I wasn't going for realism here, and I really like the way that it turned out, and it's super, super simple. So there's the finished watercoloring, and I'm going to put that aside and let that dry. And you can see I kind of have a bunch of parts made. And at this point, I'm really just looking for the right matches of the pattern paper and the right sentiments. I did pull out a sentiment set from last year that was a wedding set. I liked that one stamp that said Happily Ever After, and I will link that set in below in the supplies. And then here I'm showing that, you know, I really wanted to use that paper, especially with the platinum embossing powder, but it's very busy. So using the vellum to kind of push back some of the pattern paper in order to use it was great. And then I love combining I wanted to use each color of cardstock, and so I'm just playing around with what pattern paper to combine with what. And your choices could be very different than mine. But this is kind of where I went. On the worn lipstick stamped onto the pink cardstock, I wanted to add some detail with, again, not having to do a lot. It's summer, I was being really lazy, and so taking a white Prismacolor and adding some of the shading into the tone-on-tone stamping just really made this pop and made it very special. And I think I would do this again, actually, and you could do it on a complete card front, not cutting it out or anything, and it would really just be beautiful. You could get a lot of detail even out of a single layer card with this design and have not cut that centerpiece out. And then I did decide to use the really small script in between these two pieces. So when you're thinking about using pattern paper, a good thing to always remember is, scale. If you're matching them and putting them together, you want to try to always have one thing that's large, one thing that's medium, and one thing that's small. In this instance, we have large and small, which is fine. You can mix and match those two, but you would never want to have all three big things. I'm thinking that the stamped bouquet is my large, and that beautiful little text in there is small, and then my sentiment, which is the forever and always, is going to sit in between. And then I took a white gel pen to this as well, finally, and just even got that additional little layer, pops of really bright white overlaying the colored pencil too. And the video really doesn't do this justice, but I think that if you do this, you'll see it's so simple and easy, and it just makes it look like you spent a lot of time, but you really didn't. I don't color that fast, but I think maybe it took 10 minutes to do the two cards, because I did the one that I printed on Fog with the Barely Beige like this as well. And you'll see that background in a minute. I will tell you that this one with the worn lipstick, it was kind of the perfect tone-on-tone stamping. The Barely Beige on the Fog is very, very light, so I actually ended up going back and embossing over that with clear embossing powder to get it to just be very subtle but have that bouquet be there. So this is the first card that I was going to assemble, and I'm putting those two pink sides on it. And then after I get these all put together, we'll do some embellishment. So this one I took the black and white. I decided you could also use these as headers, obviously, and not put them together. And I did put the little stamp on a curve. For this one, I took the bouquet background. I wanted to add a little more of the beige color and then also some of that worn lipstick to kind of make it pop. It felt very soft and like it needed some brightness. So I added to the dots with just a simple circle dot. And then I used the Love script die by Christina Werner, and I cut that out, and I'm using that on many of the cards in combination with the sentiments. I really felt like it was perfect, and it's the right size for this. So I tapped that Love into the Barely Beige ink as well, just to give it a little bit of ombre look. So here you can see I'm mounting that panel. Now these I did not cut out. Here's another way you can do this. You can work with it. You literally can just cut it straight across. So if you need to do something really fast and easy, print a bunch of these, have them kind of around, and you literally could cut them up and put anything you want in the center. You could put another bouquet. You could print the bouquet again on the center and then run another die cut on top of it like this, or you could literally just stamp your sentiment on a background. This one is with the beautiful one of my still old-time, long-time favorites, the platinum embossing powder from Ranger. And I'm using the really small text with a piece of vellum on top. I wanted to use the pink card for this. And then here I'm using that stamp from last year's June set. which had the wishing you happily ever after. And I actually should have embossed that on the vellum beforehand, but I forgot. And luckily it was all very flat, and so I could make that work. The trick to embossing on vellum, even with this, with a very fine sentiment like this, is heating up your heat gun beforehand and doing it very fast and moving that sentiment around so that you are not going to warp the vellum. And I did this, and it really did. It worked out perfectly. So you don't have to worry if you did like me and you didn't do things in the order you should have because you're trying to get this done. You can fix it. So wishing you. And then for the other one, I was smarter because I'd learned my lesson, and at this point, I actually did it correctly. The other nice thing about using a header when you're using vellum over a piece of pattern paper is that you don't have to worry about the adhesive showing. And I really wanted to bring in that pink, that pretty blush pink on the black card. I think this and the watercolored one were actually my two favorites. I really enjoyed making them and how they looked. You know, pattern paper is not always easy for me either, and I tend to go very clean and simple, and so using it is always something I have to think extra hard about. And I really like how these turned out. It's subtle, but it has that pattern there. It feels very rich. It's really nice. And then here is my favorite one, which is using that watercolor panel. I did also die cut that die out of black fun foam that has adhesive on one side. And I'm going to use a little Tombow Mono to adhere the black cardstock one to the top of it. And then that will give some really nice dimension without me having to cut out 5 or 6 of these and stack these together. Nobody will know that that's foam and not paper, but it does give a really nice, you know, 1/4 inch embellishment to the top of this card, which was kind of important. I wanted that to sit really kind of pretty high and on top of the flowers. There's nothing else that's dimensionalized here, so that was going to be a focal element to the card. And you can see me punching out all the foam, which I should have done before. You can also use the negative space of your die cut to position this, leave the foam in there, and then literally lay your paper down on top, and that's probably what I should have done. But again, I was rushing. I was trying to do, I'd been absent for a while, and I feel like you know, I kind of went crazy on this video. It's also probably one of the longest ones I've ever made. So I won't feel bad if you skip forward a bit. So I have that all down, and then I'm going to attach those two pieces, the pink and a little bit of that black and white stripe, which I just love, to the top. It gives a really nice bit of it sets it apart. It's so different than the illustration, but brings the black and white back in a unique way. I like that a lot. And there are the 7 cards. You can't see the one up in the top of the frame. I'm going to use Perfect Pearls, liquid pearls, to embellish these, and some black and pink little rhinestone sequins. So those are black enamel dots. And I'm going to start just placing them in some key places. You can see that I took the platinum liquid pearls and just dotted the center of those flowers. So I'm not going to go too crazy on a lot of these. I'm going to try to keep it pretty simple. There's a lot going on in this one, so I just decided to take a little bit of the pink platinum pearls and just add some little dots to that bouquet area and embellish it just a little bit. But I didn't want to go overboard. I did start getting into those flowers, and in a way I wish that I hadn't. I kind of like them um, a little more simple, and once I got 2 on there, then I was like, oh, now I need an odd number and maybe I should add more. I think I stopped myself though, and that's okay. This was the 7th card that I used the black and white embossed top to. I used a little pink piece of vellum on top of those dots, and I'm now putting the silver platinum liquid pearls. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying that. And then this is just to show you that if this one I think is older, and if it comes out and that it isn't like giving you a nice dome, you can literally put it down flat on the table and just tap on it a little bit, and it'll round out really nicely. So for this one, you can see that I put the Celebrate sentiment on a block and actually matched it to the curve of that little banner. And then I'm going to add some pink gems, and I really regret that I put the liquid pearls on some of the little banner pieces, and I wish that I hadn't done that. But you'll see in the finished card that I did do that. I got started here, and I wouldn't do that again. If I was going to make this card again, I would leave that off. Somebody will probably go, oh, but that's my favorite part. But I felt like it was too much, and I was happy with it, with just the centers of the flowers and a few of the little rhinestones, and I feel like I went overboard. So, but you know, again, it's always think about how you're using your stamps with what you're doing. The natural curve of that paper was really perfect for that little Celebrate, and it kind of took it out of the wedding realm as well. It could be a really lovely birthday card for somebody, or anniversary, or even graduation for a girl, you know, for a young lady. So, and you can see, I don't know, I thought it was a good idea, and it just wasn't. Sometimes that happens. So, I think it was because they weren't perfect enough. They didn't, maybe if I'd made circles and cut them in half or something, and then glued them on afterwards, maybe I would have liked it better. So, lastly, I'm going to put some Perfect Pearls pink liquid pearls on this one, which you saw in the beginning, and dot away at them. And I really enjoy this part of the process, because it is those finishing last little touches often that make things so special. And then I use the onyx Perfect Pearls on the the black and white watercolor card, just to give a few little dots, and I put some of the black enamel dots on the love as well. So there's 4 of the 7 there. And then here are the other 3. I really think that these 3 were my favorite. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be back soon. I won't go as long next time. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and give me a thumbs up, and look for me over on Instagram. Take care. Bye-bye.